Okay, today we will be reading Chapter 6 out of the novel Dragon of Lonely Island. You will need your chapter summary booklet to take down your summary notes. So please make sure you have that ready for Chapter 6. And let's listen to Chapter 6.
Chapter 6, The Puzzle Box. But the next day it rained, and the next day, and the day after that. The sky was heavy and gray, the color of charcoal or pencil lead. Water thundered on the roof and poured through the gutters. Mother, who was happily involved in the secret of Silver House, the governess had just been discovered, strangled, in the conservatory, was oblivious to the weather. But Hannah, Zachary, and Sarah Emily, who had no such homicidal occupations, were beside themselves. Each morning, as they woke to the roar of rain and more rain, their spirits fell lower and lower. "We'll never get back to Drake's Hill," Hannah moaned in despair. "Well, I wish we could just sleep through this weather, like Fafner," fumed Zachary. They quickly exhausted all their usual rainy day activities. They played checkers, parcheesi, and Monopoly, but they couldn't quite keep their attention on the games, and they read, or tried to read, all their favorite books. They spent one afternoon in the kitchen, helping Mrs. Jones make apple pie. But they spent most of their time in the strange little tower room. "Oh, just wait until you see it, Hannah," Sarah Emily said excitedly as the three children, Zachary clutching the iron key, climbed the dusty back stairs. "Oh, it's the most wonderful room. Zachary thinks it was Aunt Mehitabel's when she was a little girl." "She must have had some reason for sending us the key," Hannah said. "Something she wanted us to find. Something special." "Well, I think we've already found something special," said Zachary. "A box. A treasure box." "But we can't open it," said Sarah Emily. "What does it look like?" asked Hannah eagerly. "Do you think it has something to do with Fafner?" "Come on," said Zachary. "We'll show you." Carefully, he unlocked the door to the tower room. He climbed the iron ladder, with the two girls close on his heels, and thrust open the trap door. The children scrambled out onto the wooden floor. "Oh, what a marvelous room," said Hannah, getting to her feet. "If this were my house, I'd live up here." She stood at one of the little round windows for a moment, gazing longingly out at Drake's Hill, now rain-drenched and wreathed in clouds. Then she rapidly circled the little room, running a finger over the head of the painted wooden doll, tapping the brass gong, lifting one of the pink conch shells and holding it curiously to her ear. "You can hear the ocean," she said. Sarah Emily picked up a shell, held it to her ear, and listened. Her eyes grew round. "Is it really the ocean?" she asked. Zachary snickered, and Sarah Emily's face fell. "I guess it was a stupid question, wasn't it?" she said. "No," said Hannah, "it wasn't. Here, try 2 shells." She held the second conch shell to Sarah Emily's other ear. "Now it sounds like 2 oceans," Sarah Emily said. "Well, it's not really," said Hannah. "I learned in school that all you hear when you listen to a shell is the sound of the blood rushing through the blood vessels in your ear. But it's nicer to pretend that it's the sound of the real ocean, as though the shells were remembering where they came from." "I'll bet that's why Aunt Mehitabel liked them," said Sarah Emily. She smiled at Hannah, and Hannah smiled back. Hannah turned back to the bookshelf. "Oh, look at all these old storybooks," she said. "I've read some of these. Here's The Jungle Book, and Rebecca of Sunnybrook Farm, and Pollyanna, and the 5 Little Peppers and How They Grew." "Peppers?" said Sarah Emily, and then she giggled. "They were kids," said Hannah. Their last name was Pepper. She took out the book and opened it. "Look at this," she said, and held the book out to Sarah Emily. There was writing on the first page. "I can't read that," said Sarah Emily. "It's too squiggly." Hannah took the book back. "To my dear niece Mehitabel," she read. "All best wishes for a happy 11th birthday. Love from Aunt Elvira." Sarah Emily pulled out Pollyanna. She opened it to the first page. "This one has a little sticker in it," she said. "It says, 'This book belongs to Mehitabel Davis.'" "It's called a book plate," Hannah said. She replaced the books on the shelf. "I thought there would be something about Fafner here," she said disappointedly. "A message or a clue. Something to tell us more about him." Across the room, Zachary was pulling open the bottom drawer of the desk. He produced the wooden box. "This is the box we were telling you about," he said to Hannah. "We can't open it. There's no latch." Hannah picked up the box and returned it and turned it around in her hands.
Okay, we're going to stop and we're going to do our beginning summary for Chapter 6. So please write your sketch and an explanation of your drawing for just the beginning. You need to press pause on the video, please. Okay, once you have finished your beginning sketch, we're going to go and listen to the middle portion now.
Examining it, she stroked the polished top with its inlaid squares and rectangles of colored woods. "Well, it's the only thing up here that's really strange," Zachary said. "Everything else is interesting, but sort of ordinary, if you see what I mean. But this box is different." Hannah set the box on the floor and sat down next to it. "Maybe this is what Aunt Mehitabel wanted us to find," said Hannah. "Maybe this is why she sent us the key to the tower room." They sat in a circle around the box, turning and tapping it, studying it from every possible angle. "Well, we could just bash it open with a crowbar," Zachary suggested. "Or an axe. I know where Mr. Jones has an axe. Out next to the woodpile." "I'm sure Aunt Mehitabel didn't let us find the box so that we could hack it to pieces," said Hannah. Zachary ran a hand searchingly over the top of the box. "There must be something here somewhere," he said. "A little knob or a handle." "Do you know what that box top looks like?" Sarah Emily said suddenly. "It looks like one of those number puzzles. You know, the ones with all the numbered squares in a little frame. You have to slide the squares around until you get the numbers in the right order." "She's right," said Zachary. "That's just what it looks like." "Maybe one of the top pieces slides," said Hannah. Zachary's fingers flashed from square to square, pushing and pulling. "And if one does?" He stopped. His fingers had found what they were looking for. A single ebony rectangle in the very center of the box slid forward and locked into place with a sharp click. "Maybe it's like a combination lock," Zachary said. "Try opening it now," said Hannah. The children held their breath. Zachary held the box with both hands and tugged upward on the lid. Nothing happened. The box remained tightly shut. "There must be more to the puzzle, he said. Maybe it takes more than just one piece, said Hannah. She touched the pale yellow square just above the ebony rectangle and moved it downward. It clicked into place. Now the next piece, said Zachary excitedly. He moved a cocoa brown square. And the next? I think we've got it. Slowly, piece by piece, they rearranged the inlaid pattern of the box top, clicking each wood block into its new position. Oh, I'm sure this is right, said Hannah. See how they're beginning to line up? All the dark ones are forming a sort of zigzag. So it really was a puzzle, said Sarah Emily. A puzzle box. We'll know in a minute, said Zachary. This is the last block, the one in the corner. You move it, Essie. This was your idea. Sarah Emily clicked the last block into position. Zachary reached again for the lid, and this time the box opened. There were two objects inside. The first was a scroll of paper tied with a faded blue ribbon. The second was carefully wrapped in an old white silk scarf. What is this? Said Hannah, fumbling with the silk. Beneath the cloth lay something smooth and slippery and cool, like metal, and sharply curved. As Hannah finally pulled it free of its wrappings, it flashed and glimmered, almost with an inner light of its own, brilliantly gold. Sarah Emily gasped. The children stared at each other in astonishment. Then Zachary said, It's a dragon scale. Fafnir's, said Sarah Emily in a startled whisper. So Aunt Mehitabel does know Fafnir, Hannah said. But when did she meet him, and why is he here? She reached for the paper scroll and pulled off the blue ribbon. Let's see what this is. The children carefully unrolled the scroll, weighting the corners with Aunt Mehitabel's books to keep it from snapping shut again. It was a map. There was a title printed at the top. Lonely Island, Hannah read, by Mehitabel Davis. Wow, said Zachary, and Sarah Emily said, Aunt Mehitabel drew this? The map was beautiful. It was exquisitely drawn in colored inks. It showed an ocean filled with blue, wavy lines. Traveling across it was a three-masted ship with billowing sails and flapping flags. Behind the ship swam a pod of pale blue whales, each spouting a frothy plume of water and air. A compass, shaped like a rose, was drawn in one corner, and each petal of the rose showed the direction of one of the 16 winds. 16 winds, breathed Zachary in awe, leaning over until his nose nearly touched the paper. Right in the center of the map, drawn large, was a crescent-shaped island, the upper and lower arms of which enclosed a cove. At the mouth of the cove stood our house, said Zachary, staring. I mean, this house. A perfect little Victorian house was drawn there, in such detail that the children could hardly make out the finest lines. The tower was there in miniature, with an infinitesimal weather vane at its peak, and the garden was surrounded by a tiny inked fence. At the upper end of the island, in the middle of the top arm of the crescent, was the picture of a rocky hill. In the center of the hill was drawn a tiny golden dragon, perfect, from the individual scales of its back to the webbed wings and the arrow-pointed tail. It had 3 heads. 2 of the heads appeared to be asleep. The eyes were closed. But the third showed bright, narrow slits of... "What color is that?" asked Sarah Emily. Gray? Not green? Asked Hannah. The mouth was spouting minuscule red flames. Next to the hill was a printed legend. Drake's Hill, said Zachary. And underneath it, in smaller letters, it says, Fafner's Resting Place. Hannah said, I think we should write a letter to Aunt Mehitabel. Hannah sat at the desk. They had found paper, envelopes, and to write with, an old-fashioned pen with a metal nib, the kind you dip in an inkwell. Hannah had been elected to write the letter because she had the neatest handwriting. Now she surveyed the row of ink bottles, reading the labels one by one, and finally selected emerald green. She uncapped the bottle, dipped the pen, and carefully wrote, Dear Aunt Mehitabel. Now what? She asked. Ask how she met Fafner, suggested Sarah Emily. Why didn't she just tell us about him? Asked Zachary. Why does he live on this island? Does she visit him? Are they friends? Did she mean for us to find the puzzle box? When did she draw the map? Why does she have one of Fafner's scales? Wait a minute, said Hannah. I can't write this fast. Dear Aunt Mehitabel, the letter finally read, We are having a wonderful time on the island. We did what your note said and went to Drake's Hill. We met Fafner. He asked us to come visit him again. When did you meet Fafner? Have you known him a long time? Why is he living on the island? We also found the puzzle box in the tower room with the dragon's scale and the map. Please write soon. Love, Hannah, Zachary, Sarah Emily. Let's send it right away, said Zachary impatiently. Hannah folded the letter, tucked it into the envelope, licked the flap, and smoothed the envelope closed. We'll get a stamp from Mother, she said. Ah, Aunt Mehitabel's sealing wax, said Sarah Emily suddenly. The seal on the envelope she sent to us back home, I just realized what it was. It was a dragon. Chapter 6 continued.
Okay, we're going to stop right here. We're going to do our middle part of our summary. Please do your middle sketch and your explanation of your drawing. Please press pause on this video so you can do your sketch and your sentence.